is a businessman who started his business at the age of 25. He finished his uni degree from Monash, and he started his business, Ropan Financial Services, with a friend. They've been friends since uni, and they started their businesses did that business together, and it's been 23 years. So Rodney is here to talk to us about financial planning. But it's not going to be the normal talk. It's going to be more like interview based. Okay, so Rodney, can you please just tell us more about your rich dad, poor dad experience and how that shaped your pathway?
Yeah, is that working? Yep.
Yeah, part of the intro, which Vicky might have just skipped, but I grew up my parents split when I was about 10, 11 years of age. My family had a business in Traralgon which didn't go too well through the recession in '83. My dad got a role with a wood heating company in Melbourne. Mum didn't really love it down there, so she moved back to Gippsland, and myself and my brother went back. Dad developed his career in the wood heating business. Has anyone heard of a brand by the name of Canara Wood Heaters?
Yeah.
Well, people now call a wood heater a Canara,
Yes.
and my dad was in there in a stage where they grew from revenue of about 700,000. In about 18 months, they grew to $20 million turnover, and that sort of cemented that name in that industry. But anyway, over time, he developed and set up his own business called Eureka Wood Heating, and he ran that and was the managing director for about 12 years. So, whereas my mum, we moved back to Traralgon, she got remarried to her husband, fantastic fellow, they're still married today, 30 odd years later. But he worked in employment, he was on a modest wage. He did have a company vehicle, which was, I guess, supplied and funded, but any, expenses like the car expense at home was they'd borrowed money for a car loan. They had a small mortgage back in the days, but obviously with high interest rates, it was really quite tough for them on a full income for him. My mum did part-time work. So I really felt that I lived a bit of a rich dad, poor dad. Whereas in Melbourne, Dad was in a business, he was jet setting around the world. He was selling product into Greece, into the USA, and had deals around Australia. So I saw the difference between being self-employed, where you could write off a lot of your expenses, your travel, compared to being on a wage and really battling to build up some assets outside of your family home.
And I guess we all can relate. Isn't that why we're doing this business? Isn't that why we decided to, go to NDI's service provision? Because we've been in that place whereby we work for people, and we get our wages, we go home, we don't have to think about anything. Now,
You could ask the questions.
I know. All right, let's just move on. So, Rodney, tell us about your experience at Monash University completing your undergraduate degree.
Yeah, I think a little discussion around education. I'm probably a little bit blasé with my education, but I shouldn't be, because it does provide a pretty good foundation for what you do. I did a sub-major in law, major in marketing and economics, and we've got an office in Traralgon with actually 4 separate titles. We've got a couple of subtenants. We've got a subtenant leaving at the moment. They've been hassling me about putting it in writing that we'll accept it to reduce the term of their lease so they can leave early. And verbally I said, look, it's fine, you can leave at the end of this month. We're happy, everyone's happy. Oh, can you put it in writing? And I'll email you, and he wants it in writing. So I rang up and said, look, I hate email, and I try to avoid it the best I can. My word should be good enough, providing you accept it. That's satisfactory for a contract. I know it's probably not ideal. It's good to have things in writing. But I mentioned the fact that I'd had a sub-major in law and had done enough law to understand when a contract was valid or not. So sometimes I'm a bit blasé about the education, but obviously it's quite important. One of the things I noticed at university was there was a lot of negativity from the lecturers in terms of your future prosperity. So we're sitting there at university and take your study seriously, Rodney. You've got to get in the big world, and the hardest part's going to be to get a job. So back in those days, you know, you think, well, there's got to be plenty of opportunity. Times have probably changed a bit now than what they were, you know, 20 odd years ago. Things were maybe not as prosperous as what they are now, but certainly we have other challenges in the current environment, as we're all aware.
All right, thank you for that. So you've had great success with ANZ. What made yourself and Jason, your partner, step out to create your own financial advisory firm?
I think this is a good one for those in the room. Jason and I, we met at the ANZ, but had gone both to Monash down at Churchill. We turned ANZ Gippsland from the worst performing branch network of financial planners or branches in Australia to number one within about 18 months. The year that we left, we wrote about $35 million of investment monies. The next best region was about 20 million. We absolutely killed it. But we were going back to the office, working until 10:30 at night. People might say, why were you doing it? The incentives were good, the income was quite good, but we were concerned about the banking sector for two reasons. One was we didn't feel it was core business, and secondly, we were concerned about control, that at any stage your regional manager would give you a call and say, hey Rodney, you're really well in Traralgon, but we don't need you here now, we'll move you up to Warrnambool or up to Mildura. And we've both grown up in the Traralgon area, and it took us about 12 months of business planning, but we really decided we wanted control of our future destiny. We spent, like I said, 12 months mapping out what our business model was going to be. We did 3 to 5 year rough cash flows, staff numbers, number of offices we wanted to build. We put a lot into it, and that certainly helped us hit the ground running back in, it was 2001, May 2001.
You talked about planning. You talked about spending 12 months to plan for this, to make sure, you know, you have projections, you have all these things documented. 12 good months. I've met lots of providers that got to know about NDI's business and they just want to get into it. Many, without proper planning, without knowing what they're getting into. And that is why NDIpreneur is here, to provide the support, the training, and all that kind of stuff, so that you can do it right. I've been to Rodney's office, so I know what he's talking about with, you know, having proper planning. And Rodney and Jason, they've done this over the last 23 years. They're doing well. All right, let's move on. What are some of the things that our audience, NDI's providers in this room should look out for or consider as they develop their businesses and profitability?
Yeah, no, that's good. I think relationships are important. Like having Hamed here tonight, going through some of the things that he went through. Like some of it we might say, oh, it's a little bit basic, but some of it's a really good refresher for us to sit here and just to get in our minds, and you know, to go back and talk to our staff or our finance team or whatever it is, to make sure we're in order. You know, setting up a separate bank account to cover your GST bills. Our GST bill in May coming up, it's about 82,000. We've got a company tax bill from last year of about 60,000 to pay. So, you know, there's significant amounts. If you're not aware of it and you're not structured for it, it can cause you a lot of grief. And also, in terms of if you're growing your organisation, we've got some office renovations at the moment. So then you go, well, how do we structure that? Do we lend it, or can we fund it from operating revenue? All of those sorts of things. And just getting back to the accounting side, I see the accounting relationship as being just absolutely critical for you guys. Even if you're running a smaller NDIS business, but if you're looking to leverage up, then your relationship with not just your senior partner, your Hamid, but his underlying team as well, because he's not always going to be available to take your call, but he's going to have support staff that are going to be there for you for those more day-to-day transactional things. Your banker is really important, and also your financial advisor. So if you can get all your professional team firstly, have a good relationship, and then secondly, get everyone on the same page to know, starting with the end in mind, what is it you're looking to achieve, starting and working your way up to that end outcome.
Definitely. So you are known as someone who likes to stick to a plan and do things properly. Have you heard me talk about doing things properly?
Yeah.
How many times? Always. Because that's what NDIS is about. And now, moving forward, they are cracking down. They are checking us like they're looking into things. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Christina?
Yeah, compliance team will be ringing you guys
Oh, yes.
for a bit of interview.
Definitely. So, we need to do things right. So, Rodney, back to you.
Yeah, I think compliance, it's coming for you. If it's not already in your sector, it's coming. We have to have an external financial audit each year for our license. We have an ASFL, Australian Financial Services License, which is audited every year. So we have to be really careful, as Hamid was going through, on what expenses we're running through the business, what we're not. You know, you've just got to be really careful with that. But that's a good thing to do in terms of getting things right for bank applications and all that sort of thing. So compliance is definitely coming.
You have mentioned that for many of your years in Open, you have employed a business coach. Where did you see the value in this?
Yeah, this probably relates well with some of the services you're offering, Vicky. We had a guy that was a specialist in financial services, was our coach for maybe 12, 13 years. And he used to come down early on, like every month. For a period he worked for us for a couple of years as well. But having someone, particularly with a multi-partner firm, sometimes my partner and I wouldn't see eye to eye together, and sometimes it didn't hurt to have a third person in the room to help derive the direction going forward. We've actually had Vicky in our business. She actually provided a bit of consulting to us a few years ago when we had an issue of a young advisor in our business wanting to take equity, and she helped us with the decision making to get that done. About 3.5 years ago, he took on a 10% stake. Since he became an equity holder, our business has grown another 20-30%, and this year again, he's brought in another 10% into our practice. So there's a benefit there in terms of you growing your business. So my equity position, whilst it may be diluted a little bit, the revenue and profitability attributed to me has probably grown. And thirdly, it's reducing the age of your advisors in your group. So we've now got a young partner at 32. We've got a young guy just started, he's only 21, out of uni, and another advisor who's only 32. So that's de-risking our business in terms of the age demographic.
Fantastic. And we have some of the providers here that are in partnership. Okay? This is for you. I mean, where do you go from here? All right? So tax structures can be confusing for those in the growth stage of their businesses. Do you have any advice in relation to appropriate tax structures?
Might leave the accountant in the room here. Yeah, what we found with our business clients, as they mature, they can build up additional funds, and when we get to a situation of maxing out our marginal tax rates, we transferred the structure of our business. In the early days, I think Jason and I set up the business as maybe a partnership, and once I sort of became married with children and stuff like that, and we were starting to have some pretty big tax issues as well, we actually restructured and transferred the equity, or sold the equity from our partnership to it was a company, but it was owned by us individually, so we changed it to a family trust. So my equity was then owned by a family trust, which we've operated since. The accountant also set up like a beneficiary company account as well, which if you have a big year, you can make transfers across. I mean, you might have the terminology be better, but your dividends can go across to those entities without having to pay the top-up tax. Now, we have seen a bit of trouble with those entities over the years, because sometimes people want the benefit of not paying the tax, that they want to spend the money. And that's where, again, your relationship with your accountant, your advisor is important, and having some things that you can do with that money. So if you've got lazy money either in your family trust or in a beneficiary company account, there's opportunities where potentially you can invest some of the funds. Now, in terms of liquidity ratios and that sort of thing, we've always tried to have about 3 months of turnover in savings. Whether or not you need to have that much, but it also doesn't hurt to have proper overdraft facilities as well. We don't have a huge overdraft, but we've probably got an overdraft to cover, say, a month's worth of expenses, which is probably, ideally probably be bigger, but we don't often have to use an overdraft, and ideally if you can run your business and not use it, I think that's a pretty good thing. Because cash flow issues in a business is one of the worst things, and I oversee our finances in the business, so I always like there to be good cash flow. So there's definitely opportunities with the family trust, and also potentially companies. A lot of accountants don't really like investment in companies because they don't have any concessions for capital gains. But we have had clients that have moved money outside of their trading entity to another company, and we have helped with investments that generally are liquid, so that then if the client might decide down the track to buy a holiday home, they've got to transfer money out to get out of that entity, at least they've got liquidity in those investments to buy other things.
So what type of investment strategies do you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, it's a good question, Vicky. We oversee a lot of property investment. A lot of it's probably people's own homes, but it might be their commercial businesses or office premises. Other rental assets as well. But under our license, we're really licensed to cover things like managed investments, listed investment companies, bond accounts, cash accounts and that sort of thing. So we currently have around about maybe 180, 200 million in investment under management. So, and those investment accounts are across superannuation accounts, so personal super. We have quite a lot of self-managed superannuation funds, and I've actually got a self-managed fund myself. Within my own self-managed fund, I've got a managed portfolio that I have a set amount every month that goes into that particular account. I've also got a couple of properties in the self-managed fund that pay rent every month. They're basically an office building. So I use those rental amounts to top up the investment into the managed investments each month. For our clients, we generally a little bit conservative in terms of the investment, so we like things that are fairly blue chip, franking credits. We like exposure overseas as well, international investment markets. A little bit in property as well is generally an exposure there as well. So in terms of returns, what you're looking for, like the last 12 months or so, returns have been pretty flat. You've probably been lucky to break even in the last 12 months on some of those more growth style of assets. But over the longer term, we've still got clients that have had a rough year, but their longer term returns are still around that 8, 9.5%, which is pretty good. Maybe after fees, your fees on average nowadays are probably somewhere between 1 to 1.5% to cover your administration, your platform and advisory sort of costs. So it's definitely better if you've got lazy money. We see it over time if people aren't managing their finances. Sometimes they manage their tax obligations, which is great, and their compliance. Obviously, you've got to get all that right first, but once you get all that in order, then it's good if you can obviously diversify and get into some assets and start to grow your wealth.
All right, we have 2 more questions, okay? The first one is, you have advised some very successful medical services clients and businesses. Can you provide some discussion around how these clients have developed successful personal services businesses?
Yeah, I'll probably pick on a young fellow I consulted with back in the early 2000s. His name's Tristan White. We caught up for a coffee one day and he said, Rodney, he's a physio. He said, I'm working for Gippsland Physio Group, who funnily enough have got about 50 practices around Australia as well. But he said, I want to start a practice, but I don't want to be on the tools, I want to build a business. anyway, so we discussed it, and he went away, and he decided to get into the aged care sector. So he's developed a practice or a business across Australia, where I think he's got about 150 staff working for him across aged care facilities across Australia. In recent years, he sold out a fair amount of his equity in that business. But Tristan was a great example, quite entrepreneurial. He always went in the BRW list in terms of the best businesses to work for in Australia, and eventually he won that. He was voted as the #1 business to work for in Australia. But he was always doing things. Sometimes when you own a business, you've got to put yourself, unfortunately, last. And I noticed with Tristan, he was always putting his investment ahead in his business, growing his business, but his needs were often put last. Eventually, he got there, but it's something we can probably all relate to. I heard a couple of stories tonight that people have been running around all day, putting the needs of their clients and their staff ahead of themselves. Now, eventually you want that to turn, and eventually it does, but in that business owner journey, sometimes you just got to put everything else first, and you just got to wait. I mean, there's some aspects of yourself that you can't, like your health and all that sort of thing, but sometimes people don't realise, like even your tax obligations, like I'm not sitting up here crying poor that we've got $100,000 tax bill to pay, but that's something that's gone. You know, that's money there that's bang, it is out the door. So anyway.
Wow. So I hope you're getting something out of this.
Oh.
Yeah, you may be thinking I'm too small for all this, I really don't have much clients, so what are they talking about? Think big, because it's where you're going, that is when you will need this. You will remember this. You will remember this. So Rodney, this is the last question. What pitfalls do you see business owners make, especially those in personal services, which is where we are?
Did I ask my own question? Pitfalls. I was just thinking, one thing that's often overlooked is a good, solid risk insurance plan. We help out a lot of businesses with buy-sell agreements and insurance funding. We actually had an example where my wife actually had a tumour diagnosed a number of years ago, and it required surgery, and it was of a big enough size that it actually qualified to bring forward her life insurance payment. So at a time in life, we were actually about to build a house, and we had this diagnosis, and like it was awful, but the fact that we had this insurance policy, it one meant that the affordability of the bill was a lot easier, and secondly it meant we could proceed as normal. So that's an example on the personal front, but if we've got business partnerships in the room and that sort of thing, within our business we have life insurance policies, disability and so forth, just in case something happens to one of the partners. And a few years ago I had a pretty bad accident in the gym. I was stupid, ran into a wall and broke my shoulders and all that sort of thing. So I was out of action for sort of probably 6 months. So we had insurance to cover that from a business expense point of view. It paid for our rent and the expenses in the business. I think it was only $5,000 or $6,000 a month. It's probably underinsured, but also had income protection insurance, which was able to pay my wages over that 3 to 6 months. In the end, the insurer were really good. They said if you can sort of guarantee you'll be back by a certain date, we'll just pay you a lump sum. And they just paid a lump sum of salary. So that's maybe a little bit of a side issue, but I think a big thing in business, the early days in our business, we had a lot of staff turnover. In recent years, we kind of can't get rid of our staff because we've got a pretty comfortable environment. Jason and I aren't in hassling people all the time. I was off playing golf yesterday knowing I was down here tonight. Things become easier. Now, a lot of you guys, not all, but in that early stages where it is pretty tough, but you've got to grind through it because it does get better. And particularly as you develop strong relationships with your staff, with your providers like your accountants, your bankers, your advisors, I think you can just hang in there, work on your relationships, and work on your strategy too. It's important to know what you're trying to achieve out of it as well. If you are in a partnership, it's trying to get your heads together and work out what it is you want. Is there a combined goal together? And there might be elements where, like, we used to always buy cars together. My wife would say his and his bloody cars, and I recently had a bit of a car issue and I've had to break the mold. I've bought a new car. My business partner, he's got the old model now. So we've got some little changes. But you want your business to develop and you want a little bit of individualisation in your business. You want to be yourself. So that's probably a bit of advice there.
Can we all give him a round of applause? Thank you so much, Rodney, for your time. Thank you for coming tonight to talk to us about this. Now, Rodney is available for if you want to have a chat with him about investing whatever money you've got, other than having it sitting there, doing nothing for you. And he's going to advise you how to do it in a proper way that will save you tax.
Oh. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, yes. All right, so that's, thank you. So that's our two big speakers for tonight. Now, the last segment of our session is about question and answer. Q&A about accommodation services. Who is here because of that? Yes. Accommodation services. It's huge. Two of our panelists, so I'm the third panel, I'm supposed to be the third person. They couldn't make it. One fell sick. The other one got stopped in traffic in Footscray somewhere. And it's still, so I don't think he'll get here before we finish. So count on me. I know a little bit about accommodation because I run accommodation services. So just throw those questions at me. What do you have? Okay, before we go there, let me tell you a bit about me for you to know whether I'm qualified or not. I got into NDIS in 2017 when NDIS just moved into Victoria. So I got registered within a few hours of putting everything together. Life was easy. It was so easy. Oh, no auditing, no nothing. Just boom, boom, boom. Uploaded my certificates and that was it. 2017, but not any longer. Okay, so I started accommodation services in 2021. Got a place, rented a place, got my first client, and then the next, and then the next. So the only thing I don't do is SDA. So if you have questions about SDA, I may not be able to help.
You can ask me, that's fine.
Oh, come on. Come on. What's wrong with me? Come on.
No problems.
Okay, I was. So.
Thank you very much, guys. My name is Param, and I came with Hamad myself, and I'm one of the directors at Bush Group. And just like accounting, we provide other services as well. We do residential building, we do commercial building, we do SDA homes. So if you need any assistance with SDA, yes sir.
Assessor. You need an assessor.
No.
Well, if you sign a building contract with us, we can provide you an assessor, no problem. We can talk about it, that's not a problem. And just a bit about myself, guys. I am pretty young, and I was an ex-financial planner just like yourself, Rodney, but I was an ex-one. So I started off my career with financial planning, but then due to Royal Commission, I moved out of that space, and I basically opened up Burj Group along with two other partners. We started off building residential and commercial homes, and then we were a one-stop shop because when someone needed a house, they wanted someone that can help them with finance, they can help them with accounting. So we partnered up with all the SCAs, and that's how we came up. So SDA is one of our main things that we do. With SDA building, we do high physical, we do robust homes, we do all kind of SDA homes. Not many builders do SDA homes. If they are doing it, they are going bankrupt at this point of stage because of, again, how you mentioned assessors. there are a lot of assessors out there, but they're not certified, not on the system.
Only
So,
training.
yeah, so just be very mindful of what building you choose because, if you
But there are a
don't
lot of empty SDM homes in Thane, Tromney, and Winter.
yes, because that's where many clients are at the moment,
That's it, yeah.
and they're looking for accommodation in the western suburbs.
Yeah.
So SDA is very popular. Many people are guaranteeing, returns as well on SDA. So if anyone needs any assistance on SDA homes, of course you can come to me and we can kind of reach out about that.
Alright, so let's start with the questions and answer. Yes?
Over to you.
No?
No,
Sudan?
I can
Oh,
say, I can
sure.
say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to SDA houses,
Mhm.
there are different levels.
Yes.
So for these different levels, the builders are coming with robust or basic ones. And that is not wheelchair accessible.
Mhm.
Under that circumstances, to make it more wheelchair accessible, what do you need to do?
So again, what we actually do is, we have assessors. You know how you mentioned the fact assessors. Firstly, we have to look at the land if it's approved. If you can build an NDIS home there, that's one thing. Second thing is with wheelchair accesses. You know how you spoke about wheelchair accesses.
Fully accessible.
Fully accessible. Okay, so with this to start off with, once the developers approve this, then it's basically the assessors, they go through the NDIS plan. And we do a 3D model. We have an internal architect that does a 3D model that basically shows you how it's going to be compliant. What all, for example, with NDIS homes, you need a wider door. You need just not a wheelchair access, but you need a wider door. You need to have handrails,
Yes.
shower screens that need to be come off. So there's many things, just not wheelchair. There's a lot of people. What I was basically having a look outside. Many builders, what they're doing is, they build a house and they just get a $50, wheelchair access ramp, and they call it SDA home. Well, that's not right. If the NDIS commission comes there, they're facing big problems. So what we do is our assessors do certify it, and then after that we do a 3D model, depending on again what type of clients we're going to be putting in. If someone with intellectual disability, and then we know they might have problems walking, then we'll make it according to that. We'll put wheelchair access. We'll make sure that there's double doors instead of single doors. Also, for SD homes, the wall, the plaster is different as well. So many complications. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
So not just normal plaster like we have in our homes, it's got to be measured, robust, thicker, so that when they dig into it, it bounces back.
Yes.
So, any question?
Yeah, so do you have your own SDA set up at the moment? Do you have your own homes?
We are currently building SD houses, but as in display house, are you talking about?
No, so functioning homes that hold participants.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes,
they've
we do.
got clients over 250
Around 250 clients.
Oh, okay.
clients.
Yeah.
Great. And what do you think the biggest challenges are with that?
Getting approvals. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of clients that come in that want to start off building SD homes,
Yeah.
but later down the track, at the start as well when we started SD homes, again it was a new market. People wanted to get more business, so they were like, oh yeah, you know what? Let's just make SD homes. But with them, when we come to the planning stage, they waste 3 months, 4 months. Later down the track, we come to know that the developer hasn't approved it. So with our SDSS, what we do is every stage does go through an inspection. The inspection has to pass. Then only the certificate of occupancy can be given away.
If I may add, Karan, to that,
Sure.
apart from this, it's very important location.
Location.
Particularly if you are making an STA, please keep in mind where you're making it.
Yes.
Like we discussed, Wyndham, Thane, Tribuna, everywhere there's an STA home standing there, and participants don't want to live there.
Yes.
We are building STA homes thinking that they are not humans. You have to keep in mind that participants are human beings as well as the workers are human beings.
Yes.
There should be supermarkets, there should be train stations.
Yes.
You need to make that house not only accessible for a wheelchair, but for general human
Yeah,
beings.
That's
you
correct.
know.
I think you added very well there. That's why, you know, what we do is when we speak to our clients, you know, our NDIS providers, we make sure where the need is, you know, and then we look at a location because there are many of them that are moving to outside metropolitan.
Yeah.
So they're moving to Ballarat, Bendigo. So that's one thing that we're focusing on as well. But again, you know, if it's close to stations and supermarkets, it's easy for them as well. Of course, NDIS is all about, that's what I believe, it's about giving them services and making sure that they're getting the best services out of it. So I mean, if it's close to shops, for example, Dandenong, that's a big market. Well, I mean, I've been hearing from providers that they get a lot of clients from Dandenong. But again, Dandenong, there's a good part of Dandenong and there's the other part of
That's the
Dandenong.
other part.
So it depends where you're building the houses and how accessible it is, you know, because a lot of people want gyms, they want, you know,
Athletic centers. for
gymnatic centers, and so Dandenong is a very prime location. But if you go to the main Dandenong hub, if you know there's houses near, for example, the library, I mean, you know, it's better off. You're better off. You're not getting. I mean, the houses are going to cost the same, you know, but you're better off giving client a nearby access. So I think you said well there. Any other questions?
Any other
regarding
questions?
SDAs?
Yes.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
SDA profitable though? I've got a participant, he's got a 56,000 approved SDA. How is it profitable for a business person or investors like?
So with SDAs, there's two things with SDAs. Client, I mean, with people, they get SDA homes, right? They basically give it to NDIS providers further on. But with SDAs, firstly, they're expensive. You know, if a normal house is costing 13,000, 14,000 per square, this one will cost you around 19,500 to 20,000 per square. But again, my thinking, and I'm not quite sure about it, and correct me guys if I'm wrong on this one, what they do is the client pays for it, I think, for SDA, and they can have
Let me
parties
help you with
there.
that.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sorry,
No.
I do this. So basically, it's very profitable when you're asking about how many clients can we get. Let's suppose you have 3 clients, right?
Yes.
This is something for rentals we don't decide. The government has already decided what each participant is going to get. So the minimum a participant is getting is 28,000. That is fully accessible. Okay. So when I tell a client that someone who's building an SDA home, I always tell them keep in mind that you have 3+1. One is for carer and 3 rooms are for the participants. Let's suppose all your rooms are not rented to high physical. One room is rented to the high physical, which is $58,000 per month, and keep the rest of the 2 rooms as 28,000. Maybe 3 of them will be rented by high physical, or maybe 2 will be rented by 2 fully accessible people and 1 by high physical. Even then, your net profit after all the expenses is about 60 to 65 grand, which is more than a normal house.
Yes.
Is that a year?
A year.
And I think it's per room as well. The profits go like
No, I'm talking about after all the expenses and
Fair
everything.
enough.
That's the net profit you
Okay.
get. Okay. Plus, you have to keep in mind that what people do is they get greedy when they're renting out the house. They're like, we want all high physicals in all rooms. Okay.
But that's where the conflict lies, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, if you keep 3 high physical, I mean, I'm not an NDIS provider, but I know this for a fact. If you keep 3 high physical people in one house, they'll end up, you know, fighting. With
Not
each other.
only that, but you have to
Even
keep
more
in
than
mind.
2 is not really a good one.
But
Yeah.
not only that, you have to keep in mind that eventually if someone is on fully accessible, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, that person does come to high physical needs. And if they like your house, if you have a good build, they are eventually your client needing more supports and services, and they will be changing to you.
And also, just I'll add up on that as well. There's 2 options usually clients get: 2+1 or 3+1. I mean, for builders, 3+1 is more profitable, but we always recommend our clients go for 2+1.
I would actually, differ on this.
Okay.
2+1, because if you read on NDIS, the nitty-gritties they are talking about, these days, government is actually not happy with 2+1 because 2+1 is not profitable for the government. A lot of people.
I'm talking about in best interest of the providers.
Yes,
Yeah. So if we have government officials here, then I would say 3+1.
No, even for the providers. See, when government officials start pointing out something, eventually in 2 years they're gonna stop.
Yes.
I'll give you a very simple example. Till last year, government said sprinklers are not mandatory they are something encouraging.
Yes.
Now they're mandatory.
Yeah, exactly.
And now people have to add on $20,000, $25,000
$25,000 extra.
just for that sprinkler.
Yes.
Because before, when we were telling our clients that, please add a sprinkler, it's not mandatory. You know?
People, before what people were doing is they used to add water tanks because apparently that qualifies, So instead of putting sprinkler system because that was expensive, they would just put a water tank at the back, and which is like $700, $900. You save $25,000, $30,000 right there. But again, it wasn't compliant. It just meets the standards. There was some gray area before,
So
but
just
now
like that, even for 2+1, there's a
compulsory.
gray area.
yes.
So right now, we think we're doing a favor for the providers by making 2+1. Eventually, the provider is coming down the line 2 years, 3 years from the line. Because SD is such a big investment, you don't think about 2 years, 3 years.
Yes.
You think straight 20 years.
Yes.
Straight up.
Well, she's right there because the cost is not going to be much.
Exactly.
If you build
Another added
2+1 or
50,
3+1.
Exactly.
But I don't know much about NDS guys, but when it comes to SD homes, 75% of people go for 2+1 as of today. We have started getting more inquiries for 3+1. We also get some inquiries for 4+1, which I have never encouraged, and I'm speaking to some providers, and because of the conflicts and the risk. So 3+1 and 2+1, they're the most common options there. But like high percentages we talk about, it's 75% 2+1 at the moment because they are because as builders, we see them as a client. We don't see them as NDS providers. So they talk about just profits, and we don't know much compliance about that part.
That's where I come to
Yeah,
work,
yeah, I
because
think
I'm
thank
an
you
NDS
for-
consultant.
No, no,
I
thank-
tell people, I make the provider sit down and I'm like, I know you want a 2+1. Think 3+1. Imagine you have 2 high physical clients, okay? And both the high physical clients have one-on-one carers.
Yeah.
If you have 3+1, you can use the other room for your carer. So 2 carers, 2 clients, you are happy, your clients are happy. They are never going to move out of your house. Think 5 years, 10 years from now. Okay? Always think when we talk about NDIS, as providers, as SDA providers, as SIM providers, or any providers, you have to think that when a client is coming to you, he or she is coming to you for long runs. Okay?
Any business, that should be the
Yeah.
mindset. My next question is,
Yes.
how come I'm having problem finding 1+1?
Sorry, what was that again?
1+1.
Honestly speaking, we haven't built any 1+1. I have never had an NDIS provider that's interested in 1+1. But I think you're a good speaker. You should add up on this one as well. I think you should give her a special mic next time.
Less profitable.
No. Let me correct you on that. 1+1 is just not encouraged by the government particularly. Because 1+1 is very expensive for the government to afford. The government tries 2+1, at least 2+1. Maybe your client is tricky. Okay? The client has more mental issues or more physical issues. Okay? The government can always put them in 2+1, but the government always hopes that eventually the client's condition is going to improve. Okay?
And I think
Any client-
profitability is another issue as well.
Yes.
If someone's building a house, the land is 350 square meters. If they're building a house, why would they want to build a 2-bedroom when they can have 3 bedrooms and make more money out of it?
And for 1+1, the government has been facing a lot of assault issues and stuff. So with 2+1, it's more safer. Maybe you need 2-on-1 carers.
Yes.
Okay? Because when the clients are tricky, usually 1+1 house becomes stuffy and the space is not that much for the client in
The
it.
rumpus room is going to be the same, the hallway is going to be the same, the kitchen is going to be the same. Why don't you add another room and then,
Yeah.
more money?
Are you finding land, for example, where affordable, for example, Tanit would be attractive?
No.
How much is it costing at the moment in the market to build SDA?
And in Trugnina, you can get a land for, let's say, 1,000 to 1,100 per square meter. So that means 300 square meter land you can get for 320, 330.
That's the
If I
right
may
price.
correct you, if you're looking for an affordable land, instead of looking for an affordable land, please look for where the client's
Location.
location
Yeah, I
is.
understand that.
Whenever we talk about, you can build an SD home in a cheaper place as well. Tanit, Trugnina, Wyndham is not only cheap, there's Melton.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But
that's
when
what I
you-
was about to say. People
But
are
when you
going to
enter
Melton these
Melton,
days.
don't go to Thornton. You
Don't
have
go
to
to
see,
Thornton. There's nothing there.
No.
Exactly.
Melton, Inesbury, these are growing areas now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iceberg is very good.
Location
It's
is
growing
important.
area as well. Sorry?
Location is important.
Location is
And
very important.
accessibility to services.
Yes.
Mm.
In Southeast, I've heard that many people are going through, they're building in Clyde. They go in Pakenham, they go in Officer. Officer. Yes, please, sorry.
Oh, no, about location and everything, you know, I've come across a lot of STA accommodation and everything, and I look on the map, and I'm like, that's nowhere anywhere, like, it's the middle of Woodbrook, and it says, oh, accessible by taxi or whatever, that's boring. You wanna be able to walk consistently, you wanna be able to be, you know, go to the shopping centre, go to the local park,
Yes.
not in the middle of a building estate.
Like I said, we don't think that they're humans.
Yes,
We just think about
exactly.
13%
Yeah, there's
of
an extra cost, you know.
Exactly.
I have actually seen a lot of houses in
I'm
Thailand.
like, that's crazy.
One of my builder friends, I'm not going to name it here, they built 20 houses, just 5 of them have been filled, 15 of them are empty because of the location.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of empty houses.
Yeah, a lot of empty houses. They basically build in the hope that they'll get client, you know, their loan is going to get serviced by the investment, which happens, but you know, if the location is not right, I think that's waste of money.
You know,
If the
a very
location is
simple
not
way
right.
of understanding all of this location is, now, for, let's suppose, forget the disability part, okay, in plans. You are given a choice by the government to choose a place where you can live, not completely choose, but at least choose certain areas where you want to live. Why would you choose Thane, Trivandrum and Wyndham out of everywhere, where you can go anywhere, okay, and be like, I live here, it's okay. You know, in between all
Also,
the
Melton is going to be another target to Nina in
Soon.
the coming 2 years, by the way.
Soon, yeah.
The other side.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't want to go to that area, is Melton?
Honestly, now it's a good time.
Yes.
If we're
But
talking
it's
about it.
a time
where you want to be.
Well, some people like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people, again, you know, they still want to live in Thane, Nina, Windermere. It depends on the provider. I mean, they still want to live there.
100%.
But I think it comes up to their personal choices. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about SDA. Now we have other services or accommodation group, okay, like SEAL, like STA, like MTA. Any questions for that?
You guys, it's just not SDA that we're building. We're also going with the commercial field. So we are going to be start building SRSs as well. SRSs, aged cares and child cares, but that's a plan for further 6 months. So if you guys need any help with SDAs, guys, accountancy, we have Hamad. We're partnering together when it comes to accountancy. We also do finance. We do developments.
So if you want to build,
Yeah.
thinking about getting into accommodation services. We know that accommodation services, yes, there's a lot of money in there, but you just have to be able to do it right from the beginning.
And also, guys, one thing I want to add here is we are actually building SDA homes right in front of Epping Hospital. We're already getting, I mean, again, the location is prime there. You know, we're getting a lot of inquiries for that one as well.
Do you
So,
build and sell it to providers?
we don't sell it. We pass it over to our real estate agents, but we just do the build part. That's it. Yeah.
How are you finding clients into that? I know how there is a waiting list for government sometimes to wait for investors and landlords to build out.
No.
Is that happening? Or?
No. So basically, see, if I think Param would agree, never buy a build SDA in
Yes.
particular, because see, not only it's going to affect your cost, because once an SDA is built, if I build an SDA, I wouldn't want to sell it cheaper to you.
Yes.
Because I know there's a demand, you
Yes.
want it, you have participants, I wouldn't.
Yes.
But if you build it, you know where you want it, the area, the location, the land, everything is according to you, and then you build a
customized.
house, it's customized.
That you can talk to the participant beforehand.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you can get EOIs, expression of interest for that house,
Yeah.
and then you can start building about it. That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
perfect. Then you can go 750, 8, then you can put it down and met it down in your budget, rather than just spending extra money.
So you get clients, that's the bottom line.
Yeah. SD has a long waiting list. If
That's
you
what I
see-
said earlier. I know for a fact some people wait for 3 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Waiting for investors and building material is always an issue as well, delays. But obviously, people who would qualify to get into that, how competitive is that? How many STS built and then you are also coming to that competition what is the success rate in terms of you getting clients?
At the moment, success rate is high because everyone cannot afford $800,000 at the moment to build that SDA.
But it's not about the 800,000, it's about the deposit.
Yes.
Deposit's a
for
high
a normal
percent.
bill, you have to pay 5% deposit.
Yes.
But with SDA, what happens is just to service the loan, just to get the loan,
You
there's
have
a
to
valuation
pay,
gap.
There's an
30%, I
evaluation
think.
gap.
Yeah.
So you need more deposit. So not everybody has
Yeah.
more deposit.
So you know, like normal houses, you can do like 10%,
5 to
for you
10%.
5-10%. But with SDAs, you have to put more.
Let me add statistics.
Sure.
The statistics shows actually about 30,000 SDA homes need to be built in the coming up to 2030.
Yep.
This is what it requires, up to 30,000.
43,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30,000 is what I got in one of the literature.
Across Australia.
Yeah.
But again, how many of them are going to be completed? Who knows?
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of builders out there that have started construction last year, start of last year. It's been over, more than a year. Houses are still at a lot of stages. So, yeah. So just be very careful with the builders you choose. Because if someone is not, they don't know about, if they don't have proper assessors, then it can be a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the whole game about building SD houses is the assessors. If even with construction, usually people have problems. There's been at slab stage, there's been problems there. You have to get rid of the slab at your own cost. I mean, the builders have to get rid of it at own cost because of level issues. So if you have a proper SDI assessor to assess it, they come at every stage, they pass it through, and that's how you get the certificates easily. Any other questions, guys, regarding SDAs?
SDA, so now let's just,
Is it legal for them, when you call SDAs and you've got a participant that needs accommodation, but he's already got his own seal providers? For SDA, for them to turn around and disapprove because they want the whole package, is there a conflict of interest there?
Well,
And is there something that can be done about that?
I won't comment on that part.
The market is becoming monopolized, if you can clearly understand. It's become cannibalized and monopolized, so that's to be frank. So,
I mean, I wouldn't say legal or illegal, but there's a lot of grey area.
customer has the freedom of choice, correct?
They do, of course they do.
If the service is being provided by a particular business,
Yes.
and then they turn around and disapprove or don't want to reject the client, isn't that discrimination?
True. But what we do is we just, we get clients, we just do the build and we just give it to the real estate agents. The real estate agents directly deals with the NDS providers. So we don't look after that part,
No.
We just basically, our part is, client wants to get SDA building, we basically get the permits, we get the developers' approvals, we start building. What they're getting from the clients, we have nothing to do with that. Our part is just the build part.
I think that question was more for Doctor.
Yeah, that's why, yeah. For our part, it's just purely building. Following the compliance, making sure it's made according to NDI standards. That's all about for us. If it meets the standards, I think we have never had a problem. I've spoken to so many NDIS providers in the past as well. They get houses as long as it's compliant. They have never had an issue. They come back to us. They build another one. Yeah.
I'm looking for the second stage after this.
No worries, mate. I'm talking about it.
So to come to your question, I'll just use this as an example. A client, thank you so
No worries,
much.
thank you guys.
Thank you. I have a client that I was dealing with only yesterday, moved into an apartment in the city. The apartment was owned by NDI's provider, who said, for me to take this client in, I've got to have some of his care. Do you hear that all the time?
Yes, all the time.
Now, as a support coordinator that knows both sides, what are you doing this business for? Are you here to do a freebie?
No.
Okay.
But it's still a business.
Still a business. You're here to make profit, run your business, make money out of it, right? So when you build a house or you rent it or you spend thousands of dollars, $500,000 or $700,000, you're not just having it to rent a room out to somebody and another room out to somebody, right? You want to make money. You don't make money from the rent. No. When you're talking about NDIs, you're not making, the money you want to make is not the type that you will, that the money you want to make from this is much more than you renting it for somebody on the street, right? So when you do that, the place where you make money from is where? Service provision, that's the core.
Yeah.
So when someone is coming to you and saying, okay, there's a 2-bedroom apartment, I want to rent a room.
No, we want to rent an apartment.
Oh, we want to rent the apartment. Okay, so there are 2 bedrooms.
But we don't want to give you the seal.
And we don't want to give you the seal.
Fair enough.
As the owner of the apartment, who is also a provider, how would that make you feel? This person is coming in with his or her provider, and they just want to rent a room from you, the apartment from you. How would that make you feel? Somebody else is coming to provide services for this
I will be more
client.
specific. I'll be more specific. These are the SDA providers who do not have any, what you call it, support work offered. They just have buildings. I'll give you an example of names. If you're in homes, blah, 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 they have buildings.
Yes.
They are in conjunction with other support providers where massive companies and so forth. They're partnerships. But their main role and what they're offering, what they're marketing and advertising is, we offer accommodation. Come rent it, because it is equity. We will rent a room, we want to take a 2-bedroom apartment, they will get 110 to whatever it is per year.
But they are in partnership with somebody
No,
else.
but then they will, because their advertisers, they're here for accommodation. You call and you apply for your accommodation. They're supposed to, based on the advertising, issue you the accommodation. But then if they find out that you have a seal, it's been acquired by the participant separately, all of a sudden the tone of voice changes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you say,
That
hold on a
happens a lot.
minute. Now that is called misleading, deceptive conduct. I mean, you can go into compliance groups and so forth, but is that right? That is not fair. It's becoming a market where
See, NDIS is a place where it's more like gold mine, you know, in the past where there's a lot of gold, you know, draws people in, you grab all the gold, you dig in and you get the gold. It's the same thing with NDIS. And where there's a lot of money, there are lots of people that are questionable integrity and all that kind of stuff. So that they don't have heart. It's all about the money. Unfortunately, where do you take them? Where do you report them? It's our clients that do get, you know, pushed around.
it's the most vulnerable who
Yes.
lose out. And
They
that's
lose
what,
out.
that's
They
why
lose
we're
out.
upset of. That's it.
After
The point is, it's practical, is it? Here, clients have got choices. The owners of the property have got the upper hand here. The clients don't want to be evicted. They will move. There's nothing much you can do. There is no law to protect you. They've got choice and control. The client can move to any provider. And the owner of the property have got the upper hand. The client don't want to be outside the property. Don't go with them.
The client wants that property,
Nothing
but he wants his
much you
own
can do.
provider. That's
There
the
is no
issue.
law that would restrict them to be with you, but that's an
I
unfortunate.
had to do a lot of negotiation. My negotiation skill just grew from here to there yesterday because the provider wanted the all care, all core for himself or else I'm gonna chop this participant out. I'm getting my own client in. That was the place he was going.
And you have the opposite in reverse, where the client wants accommodation, has his own seal providers, based for cultural awareness and so forth. But then there's the accommodation owners will reject the client and leave the property empty because they want the seal as well.
That was one of my.
And then the next stage is, and then they'll get back to you and try and negotiate. Well, we'll take your client on board if you give us 8% commission on every door. Excuse me. Now, what grey areas are they maneuvering into? And I'm sure under compliance with Fair Trading Act, that is a breach of Eden.
They want their own work, it's not from some new building and their work is, they want their care team to come and I hate that.
For example, they don't even have a care team. They have their own, they specialize just on accommodation, but they'll have a partnership with a massive organization. And then they will reject the client, leave a house empty. If somebody who's vulnerable, who's been misled to believe, under my NDIS, I can apply, and you're supposed to be a accommodation provider, why do you have to force me to take your steel providers when I just want accommodation?
Exactly.
And it's still profitable, 3 to 4 times what you get in a residential rental, they're still profiting. But they want more profit. So where does the green, what can,
They
where,
want more
where can we
because
protect
where
those
the
clients?
money is really is the core.
Yeah.
You know how much they can make in a week. So that's the focus for them. By the end of the day, we're working in this sector where there's no heart in so many people. But another thing I want to call your attention to, and I've said this before, is that participants will come to you with their plan and the money, showing that they've got this money in their account, in their plan, all right? And then you provide the services, and then, boom, absolutely nothing. Because what is in their plan is saying 280,000, 500,000, which they've already spent somewhere else. They come to you, you think they've got money. So there are ways you need to look after yourself. I need to get Christine out too. Even though you want to stay there, but please come over.
I work with Christina, so Christina knows intimately what I'm talking about. So please, Christina, we'd love to have a chat about this.
Come over because
Please,
there's
Christina.
another question asked by someone in here, which is really important. Whether you are new or you're already in it, you need to be aware. There are some of our participants that are really streetwise.
Oh, yeah.
They can sell you. They will make you work for them for free. Honestly. They will twist, and you'll be like, oh my, you never expect it from them. They know how to beat the system. So we are going to talk briefly about that, and I'm just gonna shoot this out to Christine to answer this. Now, we have some participants, and I'm sure you must have read it. I've read it, and I've been contacted by that particular participant who presented sub-stories, refused to sign service agreement.
Oh my God, did they get that?
Oh, not late. There's another one. Refused to sign service agreement. Okay, which is your protection. Don't you ever provide services without service agreement. Ever. It's better you don't do the service at all than for you to do it and never get paid. So beware, aware of that. Now, she refused to sign service agreement. People will provide all the services for her, and then she'll turn around and ghost them. And instruct the plan manager not to pay.
That's self-managed plan.
No, plan manager. And instruct the plan manager not to pay. And if you try to ask for your money, she will accuse you of harassing her. And I'm not talking about hundreds of dollars. I'm talking about thousands of dollars. Not one, not two, not three, not four. Providers have been sucked dry by this person. Okay? So the question, do I name you? No? No?
You've answered.
Okay. So where do you go? What do you do?
Due diligence, research, get to know the disability. I've looked after people with borderline personality disorder. They cannot help it. They cannot help it. It's just their way of controlling what they don't have. And the fear of being abandoned, and because you've abandoned me or you're not doing the service provision, therefore I'm gonna make your life a bit hard, but they don't know it's happening. And I do work with the gentleman over there, Khaled Masudi of Angel Caregiving, and I have asked him, he's also wrong in green, I have told him, look after yourself, man. People with disabilities, they look like an angel, and we're here also an angel to save them, but sometimes they will say, I've got no food today. Of course, we're just human. All right, mate, let's go, I'll feed you today. We'll ring, mate, I don't have money, I'm in a taxi. Can you pay for my taxi? I need to go home. So, and then what do? You know, calling you at 2 a.m. in the morning. So due diligence, work with the support coordinator, what is the disability? Sometimes NDIS plan doesn't write it down, and it can be a confidential discussion with the support coordinator. Who are we dealing with, and how can we approach, the behaviors, because they can't help it. So due diligence, service agreement, check who is the plan manager, ask the support coordinator, do we have money, or do we have budget, because this is the request. And support coordinator, can you help me by locking in these funds to the plan manager? This is my service agreement, and therefore I'd be able to get paid at the end of the 7-day or 15-day or 30-day. I won't do 30-day. Invoicing system that you've got. So, and then work. I've heard many times relationship. So build a good relationship with the support coordinator, with the plan manager, and hopefully, we get some money back in our pocket after that we have provided a very compassionate and then care, from our end.
So for those who had already, okay, yes.
So I have had a client that I looked after. She was 9, so I was dealing with her guardian, and I worked 40 hours with her on Sundays, and she owes me $3.5 grand. Now she's told me I'm not to contact her ever again. Her support coordinator says that because our agreement was verbal, which I now don't do that. And I do have text messages and all the proof saying that she has the funding, that she just hasn't gone in to set the payment up, or had every excuse under the sun as to why she hadn't paid me yet. And then I've done all the support with her, then gone to her support coordinator now, where the support coordinator is now saying she also can't pay me, and that I've basically got to speak back with the nan that looks after the child, and that she has to pay me, and then
It's just complicated, isn't
gone
it?
back
So
to
what I would do is notify an NDIS, inquiries at ndis.gov.au, hoping that you're not the only provider that, because they will look at the patterns.
Can you do it without having her NDIS number? Because they're very sneaky and don't give me.
So you don't have NDIS number?
Due diligence.
Yeah, they won't give me it, no matter what I do. There's no digging of it. I can't find it anywhere. They're very sneaky.
Do you know the date of birth, address, first name, last name?
I know the first and last name. I know where they live. I have not much more information on that.
And this is why a service agreement should reflect all of those. A standard service agreement doesn't ask for an NDIS number, but my service agreement asks for the date of their birth, asks for an NDIS number, and specifically plan dates. Just so in the event like this, I've got something.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just that alone. So there are few forms you need to have with you at every point in time. You want to go and see your client, the service agreement, consent forms, another consent form to share, consulting, your own organization consent form. All that is to cover you.
Yes, I have all that now for all my others.
Exactly.
But I literally have no luck with her.
Unfortunately,
I think the next question is Mr. Clansman. I'm actually his client. Very good. Christina, you have to pay the superannuation, or you're gonna pay 200%, yada. Okay. So they're really very good. I work with MAS. So I suppose, can we do this as a write-off for the work that she's done?
Before I might answer that question, do you have business insurance?
I do.
Go to
So
your
I
insurance.
can go to my, okay.
Go to your insurance will pay.
Okay.
But then will the premium go up though, or is it better write-off?
What will happen?
Okay, will be a write-off of expenses.
Better for write-off,
It's
because your
only a write-off
insurance
for
premium
fixes.
will go up.
You can't write that as a bad debt. You can only write it as a bad debt if you record it as income before. So for you to write it as a bad debt, you need to record it as an income before, but you never had income. But you had expenses, so you can definitely get your expenses, and naturally because your revenue is not there, but your expenses are there, so you'll get the tax deduction.
See, I learned it from them, so build a good relationship also with your tax.
Thank you. Yes.
Just a quick question, if anyone could share business insurance that would protect you in this situation, what would that be like? Is it a
I mean, with Biz Cover.
Biz Cover.
Biz Cover is
Biz
good?
Cover,
I
their
could talk
premium
about
is
that.
it's affordable, it's easy, very easy.
I think with this one, it's better off if you ask Rodney because he's a financial planner. They can help you with insurance.
It's gone, it's gone.
I'll give you a
My license is gone, otherwise I would have helped you.
Yeah.
So, any other question about accommodation services?
Accommodation services.
Pardon?
And in regards to participants, you mean?
Accommodation
Services
services
for participants, yeah.
that you provide, that we provide. Is there any question about it?
It's going, I'm going to tell you, STA, still all that, respite, get into it.
Yes, yes.
Be flexible, be creative,
But how do you get clients in there?
word of mouth.
Word of mouth, go out there.
Use
Go out
social
there.
media. Social media, word of mouth.
And when you have the house,
Yeah.
always don't think that the client that you're servicing, they're just clients, you really don't know much. I mean, my houses, I got my stuff from Kmart.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
And I took the picture with my phone, my son actually did, and it looks so good that clients are saying, am I going to be able to live in here? It's like you're going into a hotel, you know, beautiful bedspread, flower, wherever, you know, it looks good.
It
So
does,
you present
Dr.
it well.
Vicky, actually, when we look at it from, as with the first eye, as outsiders, really high class. Yeah,
That's
The
yes.
trick is,
So I'm talking about.
Do DIY for decoration.
Yes.
Don't do DIY for building.
Absolutely.
I think Colette's got another question.
Look, you said be creative, so here's one file left wing for you. Jurisdiction. For SDA, respite. Because clients and participants, like the Goldman, like you said, building here cost me $900,000. $180,000 I'm getting with an excess of sent from here, or 200 grand, built in Bali. Respite for staff, respite for participants, and so forth. Am I allowed with the jurisdiction? Because it's still a company, right? It's still an SDA house also, then you're accommodating the other.
I think we need to invite Assad, his brother.
Right, so you're sending them on holiday, you capitalize them on the care.
I'm actually able to just answer that question. Are we able to go to like Bali, take their clients to respite?
Probably as a
And I
tax
think we
and
need to
business
have that
unit.
answer, right?
The company can.
Are we allowed to take participants on a cruise, for instance?
Yes.
Why not?
What stops, if Dr. Vicky, if I do, what stops them?
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think Dr. Vicky, you should host an event for this one. Maybe plan a cruise.
Here we go.
We talked about it before.
We talked about it before, yeah.
talking about Bali, sorry. I actually
You got carried away.
I got a call the other day saying I've been selected for this Bali retreat for NGIS. I'm not sure if you've
Absolutely.
heard of it.
Yes.
I applied for something and they go, you're going to be a great candidate, you're a great provider, rah, 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 rah. I go, what's the catch? 5 days, $7,000. It's in Seminyak, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, okay, is that including flights? No, it's not. 7,000. I go there 3 times a year. I know. It's like, and who is this guy? And they couldn't even tell me the podcast or who they're on. I'm like, okay, $7,000 for 5 days. This is way more valuable. Thank you, Dr. Vicky. Seriously,
All right,
this
so
is shocking people out there.
providing accommodation services, it's great. It can be rewarding, but remember, doing it properly from the beginning is the key. Remember,
They could give you business class tickets.
yeah, remember that you may provide, and I've shared this story here before. I provided STA for a client, $30,000 later. I wasn't paid.
So yeah, should upfront the cost.
Of course, I pay staff.
Yeah.
I bought food. I took her out. I took care of her, and blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, it fell on, during the time that we had lots and lots of public holidays around the same time. So before you know it, $38,000. I was going crazy. 30,000 in the red. What am I gonna do? The family took her away from the plan manager, got another plan manager. When I was making too much fuss, the support coordinator resigned because I told the CEO of the organization that she got me into this jam. I need something to be done. Quickly she resigned, so nowhere to go. The family said, Vicky, if you call again, we will report you to...
Which they can, police, for harassment. So as providers, be careful as well.
Be very, very careful, yes.
So
please.
if you can hire a collection agency rather than you yourself chasing your invoices, it's better that way. Because if the participant will not allow the plan manager to pay you, then there should be, is it liable to pay? Responsible to pay for your services.
They got some money.
Yeah.
There's a question.
Just following up on doing the right thing for accommodation services. I wanted to check, where exactly would you find the right things that you tick the boxes?
If you can sleep at night and you stop thinking of the client after 5 p.m. and you can soundly sleep at night, you're not crossing professional boundaries there. And you're doing the right thing. And if you're also reading what the Quality Commission and the NDIS program wants us to do, like the SDA, it's only got 4 components: accommodation, support, activities, and food. So if anything is missing, are we doing the right thing? There you go.
And there are other things that needs to be checked, risk assessments. Last month, there was a doctor that talked about medications. Support workers, some, not all, they've been giving your participants Panadol, taking their Valium and the other medications to sell on the street. One Valium is $60.
$1?
One tablet. One tablet. In the market, in the black market. So there are things you need to do to look after yourself and protect yourself. Because if anything happens to that client or participant in your home, you don't want to know what's going to happen. Yes, please.
So we got a client who got approved for 300,000 still, and he doesn't move. He's with his son at home, but he doesn't move to a shared accommodation. He's on 103. So he wants one-on-one, and
the participant wants
one-on-one, and he wants to take his wife with him as well. And his coordinator, he's gone cuckoo. Trust me, we spoke to him so many times. He said, I really don't want to talk about it anymore.
As us, we go cuckoo.
So he said, you guys can use the funds flexible for respite. So even for respite, he wants to take his wife out.
No.
Is that something we can do?
Christina?
Again, what is the meaning of respite? It's to relieve their burden, stress to the informal carer. Does that fit in the SDA program category?
What about directors? Because we're all about, every 3 months about an inch away from our plant from our plants.
That's why we're going to Sydney, business and actually.
How do you go together?
I asked him. His wife is encouraging him, so. The directors, probably it's a tax point of view. There are conferences that directors do go for professional development, and sometimes they've got after you can golf, or it's packaged like NDIS. The SDA is packaged, so there are directors training that are also got a bit of massage, a bit of golfing, a bit of this, and for women the spa and body scrub and etc. So just find all of those, and I believe it is.
So tax deductible, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I might say yes.
Yes. His team is very good. He doesn't respond even after 5 o'clock. They're very responsive. I've been with them since,
Since the COVID, about a year and a bit now.
there you go, so.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the first time I'm actually meeting her.
We were all, yeah, 'cause it's all video conference. Yeah, so.
Wow, so I think that brings us to the end of today's event. It's been great meeting the new people and the old people. We'll be back again next month. And that next month is not going to be the first Friday, it's going to be the second Friday, which is the 9th of May.
June. Is it a long weekend?
Sorry. Is it long weekend?
Yeah.
We double check.
The Monday's a public holiday.
We'll send it out. We'll send it out to everyone when we check and we're sure. And we're going to be sure that it's not going to be colliding with whatever else is going on in the world. Okay? So thank you everybody for coming. We've recorded today's talk and everything. Yeah, we should go back. Yes, sure. Yeah, so next month, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be having another great speaker. Because at the end of the day, it's about our growth. Remember, we have NDI's one-on-one training, which is all about knowing what you're in for. There are many people getting into this sector, not knowing what they're doing. Okay, what is NDI's? NDI is 101, so we go straight to putting you through from the beginning, all those registration areas and stuff like that. So everything that you need to know about NDI's is a whole day training program. It's on Zoom because we have many people from interstate that want to participate. So if you want to take part, please do register. We have another training in June, which is support coordination training. Few of our people here today attended that training, and we just don't do training. We also took it further. No one is actually doing this. They did observation and placement. So you do the training, and then you go out there to watch how it's done, to sit with the client and work out the plan with the client and explain as a support coordinator, this is what you're going to do, show me how you're going to do it. And then they also wrote comprehensive reports. Okay, so I'm not going to put Saddam on the hot seat. No, will I do that to you, Hazel? But it's a great, training to attend if you are thinking about becoming a support coordinator, or you have and you're not sure if you're doing it right. Remember, entrepreneurs is about doing it right. We do coaching, we do mentoring, and there is a VIP club of entrepreneur. So to be a member of that, have a chat with me, because with that you get free mentoring session, group mentoring session, apart from many other things. I think that's all I can remember. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Don't go yet, don't go yet, don't go yet. How can I forget this? Thank you, Christine. Here we have, check this out. This is our magazine, our first magazine. Who wants to be on this page, on the page, front page? Okay, it's a beautiful magazine. You've seen it on the screen here. So, yeah, if you want to be in it, just connect with me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yes.